Okay. Hi, how are you, Ilona?
Hi, I'm very good. How are you?
I'm well. I want to welcome everyone to a truly amazing woman, a woman who has her hands full with not one, but three Sotheby's offices that she works with in three different countries. It's not even in the same country. So say hello to Ilona Mancikova. Did I say it right? I practiced.
Exactly, perfect. Hello, you.
Perfect.
And hello, everyone.
So how are you? How are things in, I guess, the Czech Republic? We'll start there. How are things in the Czech Republic?
Well, we have a great news from yesterday evening. The government speed up the process of unlock this quarantine. So from today,
Wow.
some of the activities opened again. Shops, even the restaurant is going to open next week. Some of the schools will open and very soon. And the good news that we newly the borders will be not completely open, but we are allowed to travel. So not
Nice.
only for the business purpose, but even for the personal purpose, we are free to travel again. So that's a great news, and I
That's
hope it
amazing.
will speed up also the our activities and our businesses.
So the other two offices that you do are Slovakia and Croatia. Are they both still closed? Yes.
Situation is different in each country. So in Slovakia, we are based in Bratislava. So still there is a lockdown, and we will see the situation because we are very close. All two nations are very similar, and both countries adopt a very similar way how to approach the coronavirus. So I guess that in the next week, 2 weeks, they will do the same. And the third country is Croatia. Uh,
Hmm.
we will see still complete lockdown, and I hope that there will be some good news very soon because the country really need it.
So
And
have the numbers been relatively low in your respective countries?
yeah, the cases was low. I think, especially in Czech Republic, Slovakia, we were very fast to close everything very soon. So the lockdown arrived in 13th of March.
Hmm.
So today it's 6 weeks of quarantine, and
Hmm.
actually they were very strict with all the rules. So even the mask was obligatory, and it's still when you go outside. And I think that there was one of the reason why probably they were able to stop the spread the virus.
Right. Well, and it's good that foresight helped to keep things a little bit better for you. So have you had any struggles with being in a locked down country or?
It's a completely new situation that we are facing and we are not used to deal with. And I think that it was a hard time for everyone, for our families, for our businesses. But for our real estate business, we were not stopped. So we were
Oh,
allowed to proceed, even that we of course slow down our business. The viewing, especially, was not
interesting.
so easy to do, but there was not uh, stop of our activity. So that's very good. So we use this time, for our practice, the best practice that we can do some internal stuff, some trainings, review our portfolio, be touching our client, and now slowly we are getting back to the normal life.
That's wonderful. So obviously there would have been a slowdown because not as many people were looking. Have you seen, do you think, has it been a tremendous slowdown or do you think being somewhat open has allowed you to stay steady? Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, I think that what I feel to myself. So we are still on like home office, but
Hmm.
we are allowed to go to the office. And during all these 6 weeks, we were like, time to time going to the office, and as so many other companies. So it was not complete lockdown. So the
Right.
people can move. The government encouraged to proceed with the businesses who can proceed. So I think that of course um, the way that you are forced to stay at home most of the time, that's hard, it's difficult, but
Right.
in the end. this strategy show us that probably was the good things to do.
Okay, perfect. So let's start with the Czech Republic. So all of my Czech friends watching and my Czech family don't yell at me for ignoring. And we need to have a discussion about kolaches later. That's like this huge thing in the US, whether it's a kolache or I never say it the right way, the pig in the blanket. We'll talk about that later. So talk to me about buying in the Czech Republic. What's the process? As an American, if I wanted to buy in Prague?
The process is pretty different than you are used to in US. We don't have any clear regulation about it.
Okay.
So it always depends the two parties and the agreement about the two parties. So normally what happened that you are going to find some property to buy. The first we don't have this attitude to have the buying agent.
Mm-hmm.
So if you approach any real estate agency, they will support you, but they will represent both parties. So
Interesting.
Probably different than in US. And secondly, when you like some property, you place the offer. There is no form or format how you will present the offer. So the offer can be presented to the agent by phone, in a written form, whatever. There is not like one way how to do that. And then you can proceed directly to the purchase contract, or you can do step by step. You can do the reservation contract first. Normally you pay from 1% to 3% of the down deposit, normally on the escrow account. Then you can do the second part is the preliminary purchase agreement. Normally this is used when you are applying for the loan and you need more time to have financing, and then you go to the final purchase agreement. In all these three stages, you are always supported by the agent, and all the down payment you are doing is on the escrow account. We have a different kind of escrow. It could be managed by the lawyer, so it is a legal custody. It could be managed by the notary, so it's a notary custody, or it can be done by the bank as an escrow account.
Is there a benefit of using one over the other? Is it better to use a notary or an attorney?
It used to be that the most popular was the notary because it's considered most safe. Mm-hmm. All of the three are safe, but I think it's more conservative. It's most expensive than most of the people using the bank. It's very clear and simple and pretty fast, and the expenses are not so high. So independent the amount, normally the cost is between it's around like $1,000.
Oh, well, that's not bad.
Yeah, it's not bad.
And so you and I were speaking a little bit before about basically there's not a lot of protection for the buyer. So once you pay your deposit, like don't pay the deposit unless you're fully committed to buying the home, because there's not a lot of protection.
Absolutely. Once you pay the deposit, you would like to withdraw because you change your mind, well, then you will lose your deposit.
Okay. And then, we talked about licensing a little bit, and, in the US, you have to have a license to practice any type of real estate. I know that throughout Europe, that's not necessarily the case. The broker obviously is licensed, but the agents below are not necessarily, correct?
These are big fight, and we are asking to make changes, but we need a really strong law that it's still not in place because compared to US, we don't have a school for the brokerage, for the real estate. So most of the agents come from different fields. They need to do the kind of course, real estate course. It's very short, and then you don't need to replay every year, or you can once you have a license, you have it. So
interesting.
So it's pretty easy to get it. So it's not. I will say that maybe the expertise that can have the US brokers, sometimes it's higher because of all the process they need to go through it. So that's the weakness what we have in Czech regulation, but it's mostly all the Europe. Some countries are better or not. But anyhow, that's why I always suggest to go and approach the big companies, not
Right.
independent brokers, and just to go, especially for the international. So
you read my mind on that, because one of my next questions.
You have some guarantee of
exactly.
service.
Because if you go to Sotheby's compared to some small boutique, there's a greater protection of the person that you're working with is qualified and has been trained to help you.
Yeah, and as you know, Sotheby's Realty has the international standards. So even if you deal in the US, in Spain, in Italy, in Czech Republic, well, we have the same attitude and the way how we approach and the service we provide.
Right. So one of my favorite places in Prague was the Old Town. I am.
Right.
It's just amazing to me that it is as old as it is. Right. 700 around 700 AD.
Even yeah. Actually, the heart of the city was built in the 14th century. So even the bridge you cross between old part and leisure time. So yeah.
The new part.
Where actually our office is located. So the next time, or when you come to Prague,
I will come back. Yes, Prague was actually one of the cities that I have this list of places I go and I keep where I want to go back. Prague, we did not get enough time, so I will definitely be back. So in the Old Town, or even in the new area, like the rest of the large cities in Europe, you guys have to go through the city, right, the government, because of the historical age of the homes, correct?
Well, most of the houses in the center are protected by the heritage. So that's, of course, needs to be considered when you're buying the property. So definitely, if someone is in love in this architecture and is amazing, you always need to be aware that there could be some regulation and rules when you are going to do any refurbish and reconstruction.
Okay. And so then let's talk about prices in Prague. What is the average price of, I guess, an apartment or a flat? What is the average size, if you're looking to purchase?
Yeah, especially our office, we are dealing with the premium properties in Prague. And typically our flat, the apartments we are selling is, and we are talking about a square meter, not a foot. So around 150, 200 square meter.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And the price is, the average price is 1.3, 1.5 million.
Okay.
Well, we had the extreme booming in the last 3-4 years that the prices were increasing every year 10-15%. We had, of course, the big crisis in 2008. But since that, the prices were growing constantly every year. Well, now in the last 6 weeks, of course, it's a big slowdown and stop on the market. But now we don't see that will so much affect especially the premium residencies or premium market. What we see now that it's lots of apartments for rent. We had recently many apartments that was used for short-term lease, Airbnb, very popular.
Yes,
especially in historical center. And of course, these apartments now are empty, so the owners put them on the market. So the prices for the rents dropped down 30-40% in the last.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. So the rental prices are going down, but you're not seeing a change in the housing prices.
No, not yet.
Okay. So
and
there's no
I don't
deals.
think so it will be so effective.
Okay, perfect. Your prediction for the Prague market? I mean, it's not slowing down, so it's always a good time to buy.
It's also soon to say because we are only 6 weeks. Thanks God, now the things are moving. We will see. We still have more requests than and more demand than supply on the market.
Oh, interesting.
There is especially because of there is very few new development and lack of a new development on the market. It's because of the master plan, and it's big discussion last 5 years already on the administration of Prague, how to speed up this process. So there is still many area that could be built, but there is no zone permit and there is no master plan valid for that areas. That's why still there is more requests, and we don't have mostly no stock.
So it's still very much a seller's market in Prague. Okay. So with that, let's go on to the place that I want to learn about since I've never been. Talk to me about Croatia.
Amazing country. That Croatia is it's a really like a hidden gem, and many people doesn't know about the beauty of Croatia. So it's for us in terms of the business is the second home destination, seasonal destination. Our office is located in Split. It's just on the coast. The plan is to expand among all the coast. There is a beautiful part as a Dubrovnik on south. There is the beautiful part in Šibenik. There's the Central Park, and also on the north, Istria. It's amazing. Croatia has thousands of islands, and who loves sailing? So this is the best destination you can go probably in Europe, and still very untouched and very wild environment. Croatia, I predict a very bright future in terms of development, great potential, and still you can find amazing places just next to the sea, and historical houses, some new development starting. So it's a great market and a growing market.
So I have to ask you this, being a little bit of a geek that I am, did Game of Thrones bring more attention to Croatia?
Yes, definitely, especially from US clients.
Yes, yeah. That's even my mom, when she went, she showed me the steps. She's like, here are the steps, when she's in Dubrovnik. I thought that was amazing. So is the process much different to purchase in Croatia than in Prague, or is it?
It's pretty similar. As well in Slovakia. These three markets are very similar. There is some differences. Croatia has some specific about the land, while there is it's important always to check the owner of the land could be different than owner of the building on that land. So
Interesting.
It's come from the war, and still there is some thing that is not solved, but it will be easily checked, because and so one of the things again, it's important to approach the professional broker, the agency, and of course with help of the lawyer can check all these titles, especially the titles. But then the process is pretty similar.
So is the housing cost in Croatia for you guys, is it still the 1 million plus? Is that the standard? Around
that amount.
And does that put me on the ocean or near the sea?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, good.
You have an amazing sea view, and you will be very close to. It's not first row. You could be the second row from the sea. Well, in Croatia, we developed a strong part of the seasonal rentals. So that's very popular. So there is a wide choice of amazing villas to be rented, and again, it's from modern houses. You can rent the beautiful old cottage and house on some beautiful islands.
Right.
So it's very popular, and I hope that also the situation in Croatia will change very soon, because season is starting, and with the borders closed, that will be a very difficult time for all Croatians. So I hope that it will change soon.
And you mentioned that Croatia is a big second home market. So 2 questions. One is, who do you see as your buyer for their second home? Where are they coming from? And 2, when is your season? When is the actual season in Croatia?
Well, the season starting now. Normally it's after the Easter. So already April normally is a good period. Definitely May and up to October. Czech are one of the biggest buyers and visitors. It's come from history, and it's very close The mentality is very similar, and even the language is pretty similar. Slovakia, so Slovaks, but then it's the mixed Europe. It could be German, it's Italian, northern countries, Swedish, love it a lot.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think this most it's a mix of the European visitors, some Russian visitors, well, and some US, especially for the rentals.
And how is the temperature there? Is it pretty consistent throughout the year, or are there still definite seasons?
Well, that's the 4 seasons. That is 4 season, but it's pretty mild. The winter is mild, and even the spring is great. You can have a great day, in March that you can go with the boat. So that's Mediterranean. So
Right, because there's a moorings there, right? The sailing, the moorings. They have a moorings club for sailing. It's a sailing club.
There is a big amount of marinas, and it's one of the popular destinations for sailing in Europe.
And even inland, you guys have a lot of hidden lakes from what I've seen. These beautiful blue, just amazing lakes that are hidden.
Yeah, absolutely. Not only in Croatia that the inland is beautiful, and normally the people don't have a time to visit, but also in Czech Republic, always the people are talking about Prague, but Czech Republic is beautiful, beautiful countries. We have some nice cities, but also the countryside. It's amazing.
That's wonderful. So I usually, towards the end of these, I have to ask you what you love about your countries, where you would go if you wanted to get away, your favorite place to eat. We have to ask you all of those questions. So let's start in Prague. Where's the best pivo? My one Czech word I know.
Okay, so I think for me it's local. It's 3 pubs. It's the same owner, and they have a great Plzeň. So it's our national beer, and I like the atmosphere, and like the beer there. So
okay. And if I'm in Prague and I want to get away from tourists, where should I go?
I think that there is some interesting part of well, even in Prague 1, there is a historical city. You can find some angles, some streets. There is no tourists at all, because simply it is not on the touristic map, and they are amazing. But I personally like Prague 8, Karlín. It's become very popular for locals, and we had a bad flooding back in 2000. It was 2002, and this part of city was completely redone and rebuilt. So everything is new, fresh, still historical buildings, and has a great atmosphere. I would say it's something like Soho in
New York.
Mm-hmm. And we have another great part at Prague 7, Holešovice, and I always compare it like to Meatpacking District, and it's old factories that was transformed in a loft, and there is some food galleries and coffee, and has a nice atmosphere. It's close to the river. You can take the boat and go around. So this is definitely the place that has a nice atmosphere and mostly no tourists.
Yeah, and for me, I always try to get into those spots where there aren't a lot of tourists. I will tell you on a side note, and I won't remember the name of the restaurant, but I had the best lasagna in my life in Prague.
Sure. Yeah, we have plenty of Italians restaurant that I really love. One of my favorite is La Finestra.
I think that was it.
Oh, great!
That sounds right. Yes.
Yeah. So La Finestra, and just next to it there's a small bottega, and they
that's funny.
Yeah. And the service is great and belong to my friend's Italian friend. So I hope that they will recover from this situation, because these activities are definitely most affected because they are closed since 7 weeks.
So for my American friends, can you describe what a kolache is? This is a kolache. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So kolache is a typical Czech sweet.
Yes.
Mostly every Czech woman knows how to do, because it's my grandmother teach me when I was small, and everybody's preparing Normally, it's during the weekend and during the Sunday,
Okay.
but someone do it also during the week. And there is a several way how to do that. Normally, it's with some fruits, seasonal fruits.
Yes.
So it could
Yes.
be with pears and apples and apricots, whatever. And it could be in different even forms. So it's small, rounded, big one, and it's
Mhm.
very nice that each region has a own way how to do that and a specific recipe. So you can recognize this colace from the cities because they are well known just for that, and you can find only there. So that's nice tradition.
Well, it's kind of a running joke, especially in Texas, and I don't know about the rest of the country, but we have these sausage rolls, and
Kielbasa.
yeah, it's a kielbasa, but it's in the roll, right? So the meat is in the roll, and
Okay.
so
Yeah, like hot dog.
kind of, but miniature, and people call them kolaches. And growing up in a Czech town, I'm like, no, 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 that's not a kolache. So I had to ask while I had someone who was an expert, you know.
No. Kolache
So,
is sweet, nice, fluffy.
cream cheese, cherry, strawberry, apple. Yeah,
And each family has their own secret recipes.
I love that.
So
They're
that's
so good.
yeah. What I like, you ask what I like about the Czech Republic. Well, I
Mhm.
think the one of the things is traditions. Still, we have a very strong tradition. I was born not in Prague, but in the countryside on the close to Austria border, and it's called Moravia. It's
Mhm.
the Czech Republic is divided between
Yes.
Bohemia, Moravian, and Silesia. So I'm South girl from countryside, growing with the vineyards and huge garden, and there is very strong traditions. Even the people, how they dress and how they speak, how they cook and how they live their life. So I like this strong tradition, and still in these days that it's so important to keep it. So this is one of the things I like. Of course, I like the country, the beauty of the countryside. I like Prague. I'm uh, 20 years that I live in Prague, and I feel Praguese. And it is so hot. The city is amazing, and well, I like the spirit of the people.
Right.
We lived 40 years in communism, and I think that how the people react and how are able um, to recover from that hard time. It was amazing. Now it's already 30 years, but you see the generation of my parents and the new generation. They have a great spirit to want to succeed and to do something different. So that I like that attitude.
Well, and I have found in my travels that the people in Prague are some of the friendliest that I've come across. Very opening, welcoming, want to help you. And they like to talk about the history of the city, has been my experience, which I'm a huge history buff. So I
Um,
love that. They're
I
like,
think
oh, did you know this happened here? And I'm like, no, tell me all about it.
I think especially Prague, they're very proud of the city
Yeah.
and to be
Yeah.
Prague. So I think that is nice. I don't think so. We are more open country and mentality and warm like Italian
In
and
Italy, yes.
but well, I think it's getting better and better.
Yes. So let's swing over to Croatia real quick then to finish this up. Where, if I've never been to Croatia, which I have not, where would you suggest I go? What city do you think is a must for anybody to see in Croatia?
Well, I think definitely you have to go to Dubrovnik.
Okay.
That's easy because there's international airport, so
Yes.
you will land there. The city is beautiful. From there, you can take the boat, or you can take even the car, and you go on north, and you will come to Split, an
Mm.
area of a Split, very interesting and nice. Across the Split, there is a beautiful island, Brač and Hvar, very popular and beautiful island. And well, Croatia is it's amazing and plenty of a beautiful places. There on the north that is very close to the Austria border. and you feel the completely different architecture, and very very similar, like in Austria. So as you mentioned, there is a beautiful inland that's amazing with the lakes and waterfalls. So I think this country that definitely should be discovered, and not only the coast, but also all the country.
Yeah, and it's one of those cities that even if you,
I like the people, and
yeah.
they tradition, and they are very open. If you can imagine that they suffered a lot, and they had the also the recent war. I like the Croatian people.
And so it's one of those cities that it's worth maybe getting a guide or renting a car and driving through and truly experiencing the country.
Well, I mean, it's very one of the things that is important to say is very safe. It's even Prague, Czech Republic, Slovakia, Croatia, all these countries are very safe. So even if you rent the car by yourself, you don't need anyone. Everything is so easy to find, or the navigation, or the signs. The people are very helpful. Most of the people, especially young generation, speaking English. So you don't need a guide. Then of course, if you in the historical cities like Dubrovnik, you want to have someone local that is not only about to explain the the buildings, the history, but more like the 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 history of the nation, history of the
Right.
people, how they live. So I think this is interesting to see. So, but it's very easy you can easily move by yourself.
And I think you touched on an important thing, especially for me when I travel, is I always try to find someone local because I want to hear about the country from them. I don't necessarily want to go on the hop on, hop off bus, and see. I want to talk to someone who's from there. We had an amazing guide in Prague, and she took us to the library. And we got a private tour. So we got to go back and we saw the books from Napoleon and all of that. It was amazing. But it was interesting to get her perspective of the city, just like you've shared with us, to hear how they feel. I think that's how you truly understand a country and how you understand the people.
I think what is about the travel, what is one of the interesting things is the story that you hear from the people, from the local.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's always such an entertaining, interesting story usually. So, well, perfect. Well, thank you for taking time to chat with us today.
Thank you for inviting me. It's great. And we don't have a time now to talk about you and your situation, because of course also me and my team and our clients, we will be interesting to hear from you what's new, but that will be the next chat.
We'll do that the next time.
Yeah,
that's perfect. Well, thank you again. Stay safe, stay healthy, keep in touch. If there's anything you need from us, never hesitate to reach out.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you.
Ahoy, Cem. Ahoy is in Czech. Hello.
Hello. Love it.